There is a specific kind of tired that has nothing to do with how many hours you slept. You know the one. You were in bed for 7, maybe 8 hours. You technically slept, but you woke up with that low, gray heaviness behind your eyes that tells you the sleep didn't really work. You lie there for a moment running a quick internal audit. Neck slightly stiff, mind already moving, the day already feeling like something you have to push through rather than something you're ready for. This is so common in the Western world that most people have stopped thinking of it as a problem. They think of it as just how mornings feel, just how sleep is. Japan has a different experience of sleep. Not universally, not perfectly. Japan has its own complicated relationship with rest, particularly around work culture. But the physical environment of sleep, the materials, the rituals, the philosophy of what a bedroom is actually for, that is different. Systematically, thoughtfully, deliberately different. And the results show. Japan consistently ranks among the highest in the world for life expectancy. Okinawa, where traditional Japanese sleep and lifestyle practices remain strongest, has one of the highest concentrations of people over 100 years old anywhere on Earth. Sleep is not a small part of that picture. Today we're going through the full Japanese sleep system. The bedroom, the bedding, the temperature, the bath, the light, the food, the philosophy underneath all of it. Every part of it, in order, from the moment the evening starts to the moment you wake up. The bedroom is not a room for living in. This is where the Japanese approach to sleep begins, and it is the single biggest structural difference between how Japan thinks about rest and how the West does. In most Western bedrooms, the bed is permanent. It sits in the center of the room, taking up a third of the floor space, present and visible at all hours of the day. Around it accumulates everything else: a television, a desk, a chair with clothes on it, a phone charger on the nightstand, the ambient glow of a router somewhere in the corner. The bedroom becomes a room where you work, watch things, scroll through your phone, eat occasionally, and also happen to sleep. The brain is very good at association. It learns, over time, that a specific environment means a specific state. When the bedroom is used for everything, the brain stops associating it specifically with sleep. You lie down, and your nervous system doesn't automatically begin to wind down, because this is also the place where you watch stimulating content, answer emails, and spend 2 hours on your phone. The room means everything, and so it means nothing particular. Traditional Japanese homes solve this architecturally. The futon, a thin, foldable mattress, is stored in the oshire, a deep, built-in closet, during the day. In the morning, it gets folded, aired, and put away. The bedroom floor becomes empty. It becomes a living space, a workspace, a room you move through freely during the 16 hours a day you're not sleeping. At night, the futon comes out. The room changes its function. Your brain, which has learned that a futon on the floor in this specific configuration means sleep, begins preparing for sleep in a way it simply doesn't when you're sitting on the same surface you've been lying on all day. You don't need a futon to apply this principle, but the principle itself, that the bedroom should mean sleep and as little else as possible, is the foundation everything else is built on. Remove the television, charge your phone in another room, make the bedroom a place your brain associates with one thing only: the futon and the floor. If you've never slept on a traditional Japanese futon, the first thing to understand is that it is not the thick, heavy Western futon. It is thin, maybe 3 to 4 inches, and firm. It sits on the floor, or on a very low tatami surface, with almost no elevation between your body and the ground. This sounds uncomfortable. For the first night or two, it might be. And then something changes. A firm, low, sleeping surface keeps the spine in a more neutral alignment than most Western mattresses, which, particularly when they start to age and sag, allow the hips and shoulders to sink unevenly. The floor provides a completely even surface that doesn't change shape under your body weight. The tatami beneath the futon is also doing something. Tatami, woven rush grass over a compressed core, has a slight natural give that cushions without destabilizing. It regulates humidity, absorbing moisture from the air when conditions are damp and releasing it when they dry. A tatami room in summer is cooler than hard flooring. In winter, it holds warmth, and the rush grass has mild antimicrobial properties. The sleeping environment stays cleaner with less effort. The futon itself gets aired regularly, hung outside in sunlight, which kills dust mites and bacteria, and refreshes the fill. A Western mattress that can't be moved collects years of moisture, skin cells, and dust mites in ways a regularly aired futon simply doesn't. Temperature, slightly cooler than feels natural. Sleep science is consistent on this point and has been for decades. The body needs to drop its core temperature slightly to initiate and maintain deep sleep. A room that is too warm prevents that drop from happening efficiently and produces the kind of light, interrupted sleep that leaves you tired despite the hours. The optimal sleep temperature, according to most sleep research, sits between 16 and 19 degrees Celsius. Cooler than most people keep their bedrooms, and cooler than most people's instinct tells them is comfortable. Japan has navigated this for centuries through a combination of bedding and room temperature, rather than heating the room to a comfortable ambient temperature and sleeping in light bedding. The traditional approach is to keep the room cool and use the kakabuten, a thick, light duvet filled with silk or cotton, to create warmth around the body specifically without heating the surrounding air. The logic is sound. Your body needs cool air to breathe and a warm surface to sleep against. Heating the room to achieve warmth means your respiratory system is also taking in warm air, which works against the core temperature drop sleep requires. A cool room and warm bedding solves both problems simultaneously. In summer, Japan uses the counterweight of this, the traditional bamboo or linen summer bedding that wicks moisture and allows airflow, keeping the sleeping surface cool even on humid nights. The material against your skin changes how hot the same temperature feels. Natural fibers that breathe and absorb moisture keep you cooler than synthetic materials that trap heat against the body. The bath, the timing, the temperature. The evening bath in Japan is not equivalent to a Western shower. It is a deliberate, timed ritual that is understood, whether consciously or not, to be part of the sleep preparation process. The ofuro, the deep Japanese soaking tub, is filled with water at a specific temperature, typically around 40 to 42 degrees. You wash and rinse yourself completely before getting in. The tub is for soaking only. You stay in for 10 to 20 minutes. What this does to the body is well documented. Immersion in hot water raises the core body temperature. When you get out, the body begins rapidly dissipating that heat, which produces a sharp drop in core temperature that mimics and accelerates the natural temperature drop the body needs to initiate deep sleep. The timing matters. The bath should finish roughly 90 minutes to 2 hours before you want to sleep. That window allows the temperature drop to occur naturally and reach its lowest point at approximately the moment you lie down. Too close to sleep and the body is still cooling. Too early and the effect has passed. This is not folk wisdom. The relationship between post-bath temperature drop and sleep onset has been studied and confirmed repeatedly. What the Japanese developed through centuries of practice aligns almost exactly with what sleep researchers discovered independently through laboratory measurement. The practical application is simple: a bath. Not a quick shower, but an actual soak, ending 90 minutes before bed, at as warm a temperature as is comfortable. The sleep that follows is different, noticeably, immediately different. Light and the deliberate dimming of the evening. In a traditional Japanese home, the transition from day to evening is marked by a change in light that the architecture itself produces. Deep roof eaves, the noki, cut the low evening sun before it enters the room. Paper shoji screens diffuse whatever light remains into something soft and indirect. The interior of a Japanese home at dusk is naturally, gently dimmer than the outside world. This matters because light is the primary signal the brain uses to regulate melatonin, the hormone that initiates sleep. Bright light, and particularly blue spectrum light, suppresses melatonin production. A brightly lit room at 9 in the evening tells the brain it is still midday. The sleep hormones don't rise. The body doesn't prepare for sleep. You lie down at 11 and wonder why your mind is still running. The Japanese evening environment, low, warm, indirect light, allows melatonin to rise naturally from early evening. By the time sleep is intended, the body's chemistry is already moving in that direction rather than fighting against the signal of a brightly lit screen. You don't need shoji screens or deep eaves, but switching off overhead lights in the evening and using low, warm lamps instead produces a measurable difference in how easily sleep comes. Keeping screens, phones, tablets, televisions out of the bedroom removes the most potent melatonin suppressor from the one room where melatonin most needs to rise. Food, the evening meal, and what comes after. Japanese evening eating habits differ from Western ones in two specific ways that are directly relevant to sleep. The first is timing. The traditional Japanese evening meal is eaten earlier, typically before 7 in the evening, leaving the digestive system several hours to process food before sleep. Digestion is an active process that raises core body temperature and keeps metabolic activity elevated. Eating late keeps the body in a state that is physiologically incompatible with deep sleep. The second is composition. The traditional Japanese evening meal is relatively light: rice, fish, or a small amount of protein, miso soup, pickled vegetables. It is not the large, heavy, high-fat meal that many Western evening meals center on. A heavy meal requires more digestive work, produces more heat, and keeps the body more active for longer after eating. Two specific foods appear regularly in traditional Japanese evening eating that are worth noting. Fermented foods, miso, tsukemono, natto, feed the gut microbiome, which has a documented relationship with serotonin production. Serotonin is the precursor to melatonin. A healthy gut environment supports the chemistry of sleep in ways that are still being fully understood but are increasingly well documented. Green tea, consumed throughout the Japanese day but typically switched to lower caffeine or caffeine-free varieties in the evening, contains L-theanine, an amino acid with documented calming effects that reduces anxiety and promotes relaxation without sedation. The evening meal, timed well and kept light, is not a minor detail in the Japanese sleep system. It's part of the same architecture as the bath, the light, and the bedroom. Every element is moving in the same direction. The philosophy underneath everything. There is a Japanese concept, ma, that translates approximately as negative space, or the value of emptiness. It appears in Japanese architecture, art, music, and garden design. It is the understanding that the space between things is as important as the things themselves. That silence has as much meaning as sound, that an empty room communicates something that a full one cannot. The Japanese approach to sleep is an expression of ma. The bedroom is kept empty, so it means something. The evening is kept quiet, so the transition to sleep has space to happen. The bath creates a pause in the day, a moment of deliberate stillness that marks the end of activity and the beginning of rest. The dim light signals the body to begin the chemistry of sleep long before the head touches the pillow. In the West, we tend to approach sleep as something we do after everything else is finished. We work until we're tired. We scroll until our eyes close. We fall asleep with the television on and call it rest. Japan treats sleep as a practice, something you prepare for, something the environment is designed to support, something that begins not when your eyes close, but hours earlier, with a bath, a meal, a dimming of the lights, and a room that has been kept through habit and intention as a place where the only thing that happens is rest. The science of sleep has spent decades catching up to what Japanese homes have practiced for centuries. The full system, the bedroom used for sleep alone, the firm low surface, the cool room and warm bedding, the timed bath, the dimmed evening light, the early light meal, the quiet transition, is not complicated. It doesn't require money or equipment or renovation. It requires the decision that sleep is worth preparing for. Japan made that decision a long time ago.